Shalom, what's the word? Peace and blessings, man. I'm back with another little lesson, man. It's gonna be quick, man. And I just wanted to point out some things because a lot of people don't understand that what sin is, and a lot of people can be doing sin. A lot of people can be sinning unaware. Okay. All right, we're gonna pick this up at 1 John. 1 John 3 and 4. Okay. It says, verse 4, it says, whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law. Why? For sin is the transgression of law. Okay? So, in order to know what sin is, you have to know what the rule book say. The law book. Okay? And the law book is in the Old Testament. Okay? Now, again, if anybody telling you to stay away from the Old Testament, they're telling you that the laws of God are done away with, you're going to have a huge problem. Why? Because you will be sinning against God and against your brother and unwillingly knowing. Okay? We're going to pick this up. I'm going to start it off in James. Okay? Now, what we finna be talking about is not paying people what you owe them. Okay? Yes, that's sin. Okay? If you owe somebody some money, that's sin. And you're oppressing them and not paying them their money that their work. Okay? Like, just in case, like, say, like somebody, you got hired for a job and your boss promised you, hey, if you switch positions here and there, you're gonna get a raise for this, or whatever the job, whatever it may be, whatever you guys agreed upon, pay a man what you owe him. Okay? Now look at this. We're going to pick this up in verse 4. What does it say here? Behold, the hire of laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. See? So what he's saying here, somebody do a job for you and you don't pay them. Look, I'm going to read it. I'm going to start over. Behold, the hire of the laborers who have reaped down your fields, which is of you kept back by fraud. Cry it and cries of them which have reaped are entered into the ears of the Lord of Sabo. Okay. Let's look at Leviticus 19. Okay, so basically what that verse just said, it was God was speaking out against the people that was withholding wages from the hired worker. Okay, let's get a little bit better understanding. Let's go to the law book. Look, Leviticus. See, because I started it off in James when I really shouldn't have started it off in Leviticus, because Leviticus is the law book. It's in the Old Testament. Look what he say. Look what God said here in verse 13. Thou shalt not defraud thy neighbor, neither rob him. The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. See? So if I pay somebody to cut my grass, right, and I'll be like, oh man, I'll pay you next week. No. What does God say? The wages of him that is hired shall not abide with thee all night. Pay the man what you owe him. Okay? Look at this. Look at verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer a sin against him. That means don't allow sin upon him. You see that? That's allowing sin upon your neighbor when you're not paying him. It's already in the law book. That's a commandment. Ye shall not do no unrighteousness in judgment. Thou shalt not respect the person of the poor, nor honor the person of mighty. But in righteousness shalt thou judge thy neighbor. You see? Verse 13. No, look at verse 11. Ye shall not steal. neither deal falsely, neither lie to one another. All right? So somebody, if I say, oh man, I'm gonna give you $15 to cut my yard, and then when you cut my yard, I say, oh man, all I got is $5. That's dealing falsely with my neighbor or my brother. You see what I'm saying? All right, let's look at Jeremiah 22. Let's look at Jeremiah 22. See, religion and the church are not going to teach you this. All right? It's all about truth here, man. We're going to get some understanding. Look at verse 13. We know woe means destruction. What does he say here? Woe unto him that builded his house by unrighteousness, and his chambers by wrong, that useth his neighbor's service without wages, and giveth him not for his work. Okay, what does that remind you of? What did our ancestors go through? All right, so that's what I'm saying. How can this book be a Gentile book? How can this book be a European white man book when they're not even following the laws of God? He said, who built this country, right? Off the backs of, yes, so-called African-American Hebrew slaves, man. Y'all ever heard the saying, oh man, they working me like a Hebrew slave? They built this country off the backs of our people with free labor. Let's read this again. Verse 13, woe unto him that builded his house by unrighteousness. How was America built? Off unrighteousness, free labor. Also on the islands, also in the sugarcane fields, it was built off unrighteousness. All right? Free labor. And then when they did abolish slavery, they were still giving people, they still was paying the wages, the workers, pennies on the dollar. It still was like slavery. What? And his chambers by wrong, that used his neighbor's service without wages, and give it him not for his work. You see that? So if the European wrote this book, if they did wrote this book, which I know they didn't write it, our ancestors wrote this Bible, right? So let's say the white man or the European did write this Bible. They're not even following this book. You see that? Let's go to Timothy. Let's go to 1 Timothy 5 and 18. What it say? For the scripture said, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. You see that? Pay a man what you owe him. Let's go to Malachi. Let's go to Malachi, where is it? Malachi chapter 3, verse 5. All right? So we already read that this is sin, man. This is sin according to Leviticus 19. What does it say? What does verse 5 say? And I will come near to you to judgment, and I will be swift. I will be a swift witness against the scorners, the sorcerers, and against the adulterers, and against the false swearers, and against those that oppress the hireling in his wages. See? You see that? So God don't like when people get oppressed over their wages, especially if you cry out to the Father. See? He said, and against those that oppress the hireling and his wages, the widow and the fatherless, and that turn aside the stranger from his right, and fear not me, says Yahuwah. See, how is somebody going to know what the law book says if they're not reading it? See, God's saying, these people don't even fear me enough. These people don't even fear me enough to know my law, to know what my law said to not do, and they doing it anyway. Like nothing, like vengeance is not gonna come upon them. And then you wonder why things in your life takes a rough, bad turn, right? We sinning against God. A lot of people do it in ignorance, and a lot of people do it not. They know what the word of God says, and they still sin against their brother. Look what verse 24 said. Deuteronomy 24. We're gonna read verse 15 and 14. What does it say? 14 and 15. What does it say? Thou shalt not oppress and hired servant. This is in the law book, Deuteronomy. That is poor, see, and needy, whether he be of thy brethren or of a stranger, that are in the land within thy gates. And this day thou shalt give him his hire. You pay the man the same day. Neither shall the sun go down upon it, for he is poor. He's poor. Get a man his money, and set it his heart upon it. You know how you be, have you ever worked for something and then, man, I was really looking forward to that, man. I had this and I had that to pay, man. I needed my money. I wanted to do this. I needed to give me something to eat. You see that? He said, for he is poor, and set it his heart upon it, lest he cry out against thee unto Yahuwah, and sin, and be sin unto thee. Okay? See? You see that? That's sin. That's sinning against your brother or a stranger. It don't matter. God is not a respecter of person. Just because you are the children of Israel, right? Gentile, it don't matter who it don't matter who it is. You don't do this to your people, man. Colossians 1, right? And 4. Let's look at something else. Colossians 1. I'm sorry, Colossians 4 and 1. What does it say? Master, we know master is just somebody that's over a person, like a boss, right? Masters, give unto your servants that which is just and equal, knowing that ye also have a master in heaven, right? We want God to treat us fairly, but we're not treating people fairly. You see that? Let's look at Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 3, and I hope, people are writing this down, and go back and study it, man. When I make my videos, I advise people to write it down, go back and study, man. Go study. All right? Look at this. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 27. What did he say here? Withhold not good from them to whom it is due, right? If I pay a man to come wash my car or pressure wash my house, why am I withholding that? It's like I'm trying to get free service out of somebody. Like, right? We know that people have to work for a living, right? People work to get money to take care of whatever they need to take care of, right? Withhold not good from them whom is due, when it is in the power of thy hand. See that? When you know you got the money and you still withholding somebody money, or you done borrow some money from somebody, knowing you got the money, you on Instagram flexing, and you on Facebook with a handful of money, and you know you owe somebody some money. Why you're withholding from them whom is due, when it is in the power of thy hand? You got the money, pay the man. Say not unto thy neighbor, go and come again, and tomorrow I will give when thou hast it by thee. You see that? Hey, I'll give it to you tomorrow. If you got the money today, give it to me. You see, that's defrauding your neighbor. That go back to Leviticus 19. Do not defraud your neighbor. Look, devise not evil against thy neighbor, seeing he dwelleth securely by thee. Strive not with a man without cause. Like, don't be a problem without cause. Like, you got the money. If you got the money in your hand, pay the man what you owe him. Right? If you said you was going to pay a man, you was going to give a man a raise or whatever, if they working for you, don't oppress your worker. See, God is fair, man. Strive not with a man without cause, if he have done thee no harm. This is a big one here, because this is something I had to deal with myself, right? Envy thou not the oppressor, and choose none of his ways. You see that? You pray against that man. You pray to your father. You cry out when somebody oppressing you, right? He said, don't choose none of their ways. Why? Because he's going to deal with them, right? You don't want to be that, okay? Now, let's look at Luke. Let's look at Luke chapter 3, okay? In verse 14, what does it say? Let me highlight that. It says, and the soldiers likewise demand of him, saying, and what shall we do? And he said unto them, do violence to no man, neither cause any falsely, and be content with your wages. See that? Now it's a different twist. Now, if you agree to somebody, if you agree to a job, all right, man, I'll charge you $60 to take out your alternator and put it back together, or whatever the job may be. And the guy that's paying out, and the hire, which is the guy that's paid for that's accepted the job, right? You got somebody that's paying for service. That's how the world works. You pay for service, So if you two agree upon a wage, you supposed to, what God say? Be content with your wages. Don't do a job and be like, man, I deserve more. You need to give me more. No, we agreed upon a wage. All right? So it's just like, use it for example. Let's say your boss promised you a raise. Hey, we're going to give you a raise in such and such day. And then a year go by and you tell him, hey, what about that raise you said you was going to give me? And he get to come in and making all other type of excuses and trying to dangle the wages over your, that's defrauding your worker, right? That's defrauding your worker. That's oppressing a person, right? That's oppressing. You lied to me, right? Just be content. Straight up, hey, this is what it is, this the job, and ain't no raises, right? And then people, you're going to either accept it, be content with it, or you be like, you know what, I'm going to make another move, and I got to go over here, and I need to make more money, right? But when you promise somebody something, and you don't give it to them, now you're defrauding your neighbor, right? Now you're oppressing your neighbor. Now you're oppressing them, all right? Okay, so let's look at something else. Okay. Let's see what, okay. So there's payment for everything that we do, right? Let's see what the payment for sin is. Let's see what the payment for sin is. And I know most of the people probably know this. A lot of people don't know this. What did he say? For the wages of sin, which is oppressing your brother, oppressing your neighbor, defrauding one another, stealing. For the wages of sin is death. See that? But the gift of Yah is eternal life through Yahshua HaMashiach, our Adonai. Okay? Let's look at another one. So we know that's the payment. So if you out here defrauding, lying, withholding people wages, and that's oppression, man. That's oppression. And God, he said he already told you in the law book to not do it. What does he say? Look at verse 7. It said, what shall we say then? Is the law sin? God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. For I had not known lust except the law has said, thou shalt not covet. You see that? So people can't say, I didn't know what the law was. That's how you know the law's still in place. Let's read that again. What shall we say then? Is the law sin? Because some people feel like, well, we can't keep the law. Yeah, you can. People just don't want to be held accountable. God forbid. Nay, I had not known sin but by the law. Sin is a transgression of the law. We just read that in 1 John 3 and 4. Sin is a transgression of the law. How you going to know what sin is? Sin is a transgression of the law. So if it's not in the law book, it's not sin. Look, but by the law, for I had not known lust, except the law had said, thou shalt not covet. Now let me go to Exodus and show you what he was talking about. Exodus 20. What did it say? Let me find it. See that? Look, right here, verse 17. And 16, look at that. Thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor. That means don't lie on them. Thou shalt not steal. See that? Verse 17, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor thy manservant, now his maidservant, nor his ox. That means don't lust for his things. You see that? So what we read in Romans 7 and 7, what Paul said, he wouldn't have known what sin was if it wasn't for the law. So how is the law done away? The law is never done away. The law is the way that you know how to be obedient to God. And then come the faith. The faith, like James say, faith without works is dead. So you have to believe in the Son, Yahshua HaMashiach, and you have to keep the law, right? So with that, man, hope somebody got some understanding out of this, man. Yeah, man, we just all about edification. So, dealing falsely with your neighbor, pay people what you owe them. If you borrow money from somebody, pay them back. Don't be, holding people money in your pocket. If you promise somebody to do a job, give them their money, because why? It's sin. And what we know that wages of sin is death. All right. So I'm just a servant of Yahuwah that's here to edify my people and give my people knowledge of the word. And I hope somebody got some understanding. Like, share, and subscribe. If this blessed you, subscribe to my channel on YouTube, and I also post on Facebook. And ring the notification bell for any new videos that I may have coming in the future. May Yahuwah be with you and stay blessed. Shalom.